Now, before I get into this, I want to say that I came to this conclusion after a few hundred to 1,000 hours into the game. If you're a new player, maybe don't watch this. Your expectations of the game are going to be colored by whatever crap you see online, so just play and have fun until you don't, as you should with literally any other game. I also want to say that I don't dislike or hate this game. In fact, I love it. I just have my own expectations and thoughts after playing for so long. I've got a lot to thank this game for, but that shouldn't remove any thoughts of criticism. This is a look at the underlying issue of the game that I don't think very many people have gotten into yet. I personally think a lot of these issues that get the most notice in the community and by the devs don't matter as much as you would think. I don't think they actually fixed the biggest problem. First, let's get into what makes this game work. So what sets Warframe apart from all the other games? People generally agree that the art and the music are very strong, specific preferences aside. It's a very pretty game and it sounds great too. But the most important thing in a game, as obvious as it sounds, is the gameplay. Is the gameplay loop fun? Are the mechanics solid? Does it work? And I believe it does work for Warframe. Even the new stuff like Railjack, it still feels fun to play. It's fun to control the ship, it's fun to fly it around, it's fun to shoot shit down. And the base gunplay is also fine. But the movement, that is the best thing about this game. We can traverse practically anything at lightning fast speeds and it feels fantastic. So, you blend that with gunplay and melee combo options, and you have a truly unique and interesting gameplay experience that you can immediately grasp. Think about it. Some of the most well-known games in history are just known for how fun it is to move around. It's the easiest thing to pick up on because anyone can move a joystick and see the immediate feedback. So what's the problem? You ask anyone who has played this game for a while and you'll get a lot of the same responses. It's too easy, systems aren't finished, new player experience, focus operators, content drought, content blow, bugs, nerf balance, matchmaking, host migration, villages, open world, one game lock events, ribbon overall, ground rage, archwing. But honestly, none of that matters at the end of the day. And yes, these definitely present issues of their own, but it's looking at the forest for the trees. Something I would like to quickly mention, however, is the issue that they overpromise and underdeliver. I won't linger too long on this, but I'll just say that maybe the first Tentacons hype was a mistake, because after that, they were expected to show off something big, huge, and world-changing like every year, and it got to the point where they just couldn't keep up. I'm not excusing it, just something to consider and why I learned to temper my own expectations. I generally believe it's always more fun to drop crazy stuff out of nowhere and surprise everyone, but that doesn't get clicks or draw a pipe. Oh well. Really, you could go over tons and tons of other smaller issues that the game has, but that misses the point that I'm trying to make here. A lot of people, and I generally agree as well, that the second Dream update is what really revitalized interest in the game, and it was probably one of the highest points in Warframe's history. So why? The answer is simple. It answered one of the biggest questions that players have had about the game of all time, what Warframes really were. Other than adding the first cinematic scenes in the game, it didn't really do anything revolutionary. It was a quest. Hardly anything new other than operators, which didn't impact much gameplay wise, honestly. As far as the actual gameplay loop and mechanics, it didn't really do much. And that's fine actually. But if people are expecting something like that to happen again, I can't see how it would, since that was one of the game's biggest questions and it's already answered. People always like to bring up the second Dream as an example of when the game was great or when it really knew what to do. But I don't know how you can expect that sort of response again. I mean, it answered a question. You can't really do that more than a few times before it loses effect. Personally, the most fun me and my co-op buddy had in the game was when Fortuna dropped. We were out there every day, hoverboarding and exploring and doing the bounties and the quests, everything we could until we grinded out practically everything that we needed. And it's only recently that I realized it was because it worked towards solving the actual problem. The true issue of the game that needs the most fixing has been around for a very long time, almost 5 years now, and it appeared the exact same time as the game's best feature. I'm talking about Update 17, Parkour 2.0. And it changed the game forever, for the better. We are faster and more mobile than ever. We are slicker than a cheetah drenched in Vaseline. We are as powerful and as mobile as a legendary Noid. And what are we doing? Yep. What I'm getting at is this. The mechanics of this game no longer correctly match the mission and objective designs, where we actually put these mechanics into practice. Imagine like a Sonic the Hedgehog game where it's constantly stopping your momentum, you can't go fast, you're having to wait for platforms to solve them. Parkour 2.0 unfortunately made multiple maps and missions and even enemies archaic and unsuited to its design. In my opinion, missions like defense, mobile defense, interception, they really shouldn't exist in a game at its current workable state. If we moved sluggishly and methodically like in a Souls game or a cover shooter, it wouldn't really bother me. The difference between starting and stopping movements in a slow game isn't that big of a gap, but in something like Warframe, it's enormous and it feels really, really bad. To make things even worse, enemies very easily turn into red mist and they move so slow that you end up running out of things to click at pretty fast and you're just kind of standing there. To add even more onto that, most of these enemies, they just stick on the ground anyways. There's hardly a reason to maneuver around and shoot them. If enemies are dying too fast, give us more. Give us so many scary enemies that we're running from them, that we're using these mechanics to get away from them and get a better position. Not use these mechanics to scour the map to find more enemies. Speaking of enemies, if we can bounce off of every surface in a game, why can't there be more enemies that are in the air, or why can't there be kinds that stick to walls or ceilings? Why are we the only ones that can move so well and not have anything that can properly chase us? Or instead of enemies straight up moving as fast as us, why can't we have enemies that force us to move better to get a better shot at killing them? Here's an idea for an engagement. A leader Grineer unit sets up a heavy barrier with weak points along the top and on the top side somewhere. But to shoot through it, it's all way too much HP and abilities can't go through either. So now you have to maneuver around, stick to a wall or ceiling, and then shoot it down from above, then get to the guys on the inside. Instead of a single nullifier enemy, why not a nullifying field that slowly rises up from the ground so we have to keep off the ground while we quickly try to take down the barrier? Why not any floor is lava mechanics, if as childish as that sounds? Some of these systems are already in place in some form or another. There's like the nullifier barriers, they got the drones on top, but it still needs some retooling, I think, to properly fit these parkour tools that have been given to us. I would like to make a quick concession, though, regarding the enemy design. I'm not saying DE is bad at them or that they haven't even implemented some of what I'm saying. For example, there's the Sentients. They got some really cool new units like the Symbolist or the Aerolist. There's interesting ways of trying to take them down, and they can do some cool stuff too. I'm just saying that it would be cool to see that applied across all the factions in some aspect. If you want to see a perfect microcosm of all these issues that I'm talking about, look no further than the Scarlet Spear event. Although it's over now. It showcased all these problems perfectly. A lot of people's initial disappointment was regarding the grind and the squad link problems, but that's beside the point because people were also starting to notice the basic gameplay issues. The missions were really just, you get there, you run until you find a Chondrix, you shoot and slaughter everything around you, then you wait for more enemies to come, turn them into ground beef, and then wait and do it again. Run, wait, kill, wait, shoot, wait. You see the problem? Waiting and then immediately turning things into wet meat pudding is just boring. Make us move, make us utilize all these really fun tools that you made. This is why most of the other issues that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they don't really matter as much, at least until the intrinsic problems are addressed. The Kuvaliches, the Arcanes, the Focus, the Operators, the Content Islands, the Grind, these really only change the end, not the actual loop. Since when did these extrinsic rewards matter more than the intrinsic rewards? Meaning, when did the virtual rewards from playing a game matter more than actually playing the game? These are essentially useless digital rewards that don't actually mean anything if the playing the game part isn't fun. Forget about rewards, make getting rewards more fun. Constantly give us some form of engagement so that we're not just sitting around. Give us so many enemies or unique enemies that our abilities and parkour movements are necessary to stop them from overrunning us. You know, as if we were fighting an actual horde. Make those moments where we're sitting around with nothing to do a moment of respite, almost like a reward from finally slaughtering that giant horde and crowd, and it gives us a few seconds of respite for the next one. Not a whole 4 or 5 minutes of searching for stuff to do. Hell, you could apply this idea of constant movement to the enemy factions as well. The Grineer could be like a legion of armored troopers, which they already are, and have them march forward like an armored turtle that doesn't really slow down. They're just constantly shooting and charging at us at a slow, steady approach. The Corpus could be constantly throwing gadgets at us that we have to take down before it disables or cause some other crazy issues, which, to the game's credit, they are kind of doing that, especially in the Fortuna areas where we have to shoot down the beacons. The Infested could have some more control or more of an aggressive approach so that we're really, really running from them. Make them scarier, basically. Hell, have some infested enemies that stick to walls or ceilings and hide and surprise us when we're not expecting them. And let me be clear, a lot of these enemy behaviors are actually kind of already in the game, but I just want them more thoroughly applied and have it focus more on our base movements as a way of dealing with those new thoroughly applied behaviors rather than just using our overpowered guns or abilities to clear the map instantly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this game is secretly a platforming speed shooter, a genre we haven't really seen yet, and I think maybe it'd be best to more embrace this new genre that they've made. And, keep the RPG elements too. I love them. I think it helps add some spice. But it's not really pointing towards the core issues that I presented here. Not really. I want to make a few more concessions before I get to my closing notes here. I do think that they understand this issue that I'm referring to about the core gameplay. Because, some of these newer missions, they kind of fit closer towards the vein that I'm hoping the game pushes towards. Defection is really great, actually. Assault, it's good in principle, not in execution, really, but it's a good idea, at least. So they know that these problems are there. I just think they really need the most focus right now. D.E. Scott mentioned on a dev stream recently that was preceding the Railjack Revise update that to really expand upon the game mode of Railjack first, they want to make sure that the base foundation is nice and solid. So, again, they know these problems that I'm talking about. I just think that they should maybe look back at Warframe's core loop and resolve these issues a little bit quicker rather than later. Last thing to clarify is that this game definitely has a lot more good than it does bad, which is not what this video was making it seem like. If I could ask the design leads, or really everyone at Digital Extreme, one question, I would ask them, what did you want this game to be when you first started? And how do you want it to be now? Is it still that space Left 4 Dead shooter that you imagined at the game's first few days? Or is it a game for everyone now? Or is it a game that everyone just happens to play, despite you having a very specific vision for it? What is your image of this game? And how is or how isn't it shaping up to that exact same image? Okay, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for listening and bearing with these really annoying apartment noises that I can't control. Please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments. I would love to read them and see what you think. If you thought this video was interesting, please like and share it. I would love it if somebody from DE actually watched this. Thank you, and bye.